I had an identity of my own, that, I was an individual and that I was going to bring something to the table. And I think when we love ourselves, we glow differently. And I think people can really, really see that.
You're listening to Real Love, Real Stories TV and podcast. This is Kanu and I'm the host. This is a place to be to hear love stories. I'm really excited today because in the guest chair today is Rynetta. She is somebody that I've followed on Instagram for a few years now. And as she says it, she's just a girl who loves her amazing husband and a cute, colorful outfit. I'm so excited to be chatting with her, and so you guys can hear her love story, and we're going to be talking a little bit about fashion in there. So here we go. You did a thing. You rebranded.
I did. It was super, super, super scary. Just because, you don't know how people are going to respond, and the response has been so overwhelmingly awesome. I'm incredibly grateful. People have been excited, and I really just wanted to place myself at the center of my brand to make sure that my name was tied to it, and that I could, do all of the things that I want to do, that I don't have to talk about one specific thing or feel like if I branch out a little bit, like people would get frustrated. So it's been really, really exciting and heartwarming to see the positive response.
Yeah, no, I am so excited because the timing of it, of you rebranding and then also inviting people that are following you on Instagram and on your blog to get to know you a little bit, and then doing this interview, I think is very complimentary of this time where you are right now. So as a person who follow you, I'm super excited to see the journey, to see where your blog goes to and all that stuff that you're going to do in the future. So thank you so much for being here. And so, I want to talk about your love story, and I want to, incorporate some, fashion into it as we're talking. So, but to start off with, let's talk about your love journey. How long have you been married?
Yeah, I've been married 16 years. It has been seriously the best 16 years of my life. A lot of people, when they talk about marriage, they kind of unfortunately talk about it as work, as labor, as this drudge thing, right? And I don't see it as work. I see it as oh my God, I get to wake up every day to my best friend, and we're not perfect, absolutely not perfect, but I love our love, and I love the enthusiasm and the excitement that we have for each other.
Oh, that's awesome. So can you take us back to the first time that you met your husband? What was that like?
Oh, yeah. So I met my husband, interestingly enough, tomorrow is going to be Friday the 13th. And I met my husband on Friday, October 13 of 2000. And I'll never forget it because, so this is really crazy. I was so this is Friday the 13th and I met my husband. Wow. But I was meeting a friend for dinner at TGI Fridays, where we live in Lexington, Kentucky. And I was late. And the thing is, I'm never late. I actually obsess about being on time, even if I'm early, but I was late, and I was walking into the Fridays, and my husband was sitting at a table with a group of there were some women and maybe one or two other guys. And Toby's going to tell a different story, but he was staring, and he says that he wasn't. And so I was oh my God, he's incredibly handsome, but what do I do? He's already at a table with people. Right. That would be socially awkward. So when I got to the table with my friend Antoine, I said to him, oh my God, this really handsome guy is sitting at this table, and I kind of want to meet him. And my friend Antoine is just bold, will do anything. He sent the waiter over to Toby's table.
Really?
And was there is a woman who wants to meet you at the table. And as the rest of Toby's party was walking out, Toby decided to step back and come over to the table. I was in complete shock. So we're talking, and I was going to let him walk off. I was he's incredibly handsome, but I don't really know I don't know of a segue to,
right.
So my friend Antoine says to me, Rynetta, you have no game. And Toby says, let me get your number. Maybe we can go out sometime. And this was Friday, October 13th. He didn't call that Saturday, so I got a little worried, but he called that Sunday afternoon, and we've been together ever since.
Oh, wow. So first of all, he didn't think anything of your friend Antoine who was there?
Yeah, it was so odd. Well, my friend is gay, and I'm wondering if he could tell that. I don't know. It was so odd. It, I don't know if he could tell. I don't know what it was, but like I think he knew that wasn't like, it wasn't a relationship thing. And then I think when Antoine said, "Rynetta, you have no game," that he was like, okay, I guess, I'm not really sure, but it was funny. And the way that it happened was just, I mean, like I said, that Saturday, I was like, okay, wait a minute. He's not going to call, but he says all the time that he had to practice the like 1 to 2 day rule. So
Oh,
of
I
not
see.
calling.
Yeah, yeah, guys do that a lot, huh?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So, okay, and then so he called that Sunday, and then you
And
guys.
we've been together ever since. We went out on a date. Our first date was at Ruby Tuesday. It's funny, for our 16-year anniversary, he did like these pictures of places, like our first date where we met, and neither of those places are there anymore. They've been replaced with other things, right?
Oh, I
So
see.
he did like this picture thing. But so our first date was at Ruby Tuesday, and I would not let him pick me up. I was like, I'll meet you, because I was like, I don't know this guy. I was like, he's really
Right,
nice or
right.
whatever, but like, I'll meet you at the restaurant. But then we continued to talk and date. And it was just like, I could tell in the very beginning, this is completely different. This is
Oh,
different from anything else, any other relationship, I've ever encountered. And I'm glad, because my husband is just a really amazing guy.
oh, that's so awesome. So, had you been looking? I mean, were you out there checking out if there were any potentials? What was your state of mind when you met him?
You know what? It's so funny. That is a fabulous question because, okay, so I had moved to Lexington from Atlanta, Georgia, and the two places could not be more different, right? Like, when I moved to Lexington, I didn't really know anybody. I was going to graduate school. I knew my friend Antoine because he had come from Clark, Atlanta with me. He was an instructor, and I had just graduated. And I had got in college, I had been in a really long relationship that ended. And so I was kind of like, you know what, over it. I didn't know. I was like, I'm not looking. I'm just going to enjoy life. I'm just going to go, do the things that I want to do, just because it was a struggle. It's like, and then when I got to Lexington, to be honest, I was like, where are the black men? It was
Right,
like one
right.
of those things where I was like, am I really going to meet somebody here that like I feel a connection with? And so I
Yeah.
wasn't looking when I met him. So I think that was the thing. When I saw him in the window, I was like, whoa, where did this brother come from? And so it was really like a divine moment, because when I started dating him, I was like, wow, this is what I've been missing.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't actively looking at all. I was just kind of like, whatever happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, so the listeners, including myself, being a single person and looking for love, I do these interviews to one get inspiration and hope
Hmm.
from married couples such as yourself who are making relationships work, and you're celebrating your 13th, you said.
16th.
Oh, 16th. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate hearing how easy and how unexpected that you can, run across your future husband while you're out and about hanging out with
Yeah.
your friends. So, yeah. So, what would you say, like to somebody who's listening, who's single, who's
Hmm.
looking, what would you say to her in terms of like what you have learned about love, and sort of where somebody like myself, what could we do different to
Hmm.
invite the one?
That's a great question. And I think actually the first thing for me was recognizing, I think I went through this period of being single and understanding that, like, if I loved myself,
Yeah.
that would be all over me, that somebody would see that, somebody could tell that, like, I wasn't going to be this clingy person. I had an identity of my own, that, I was an individual, and that I was going to bring something to the table. And I think when we love ourselves, we glow differently. And I
Mhm.
think people can really, really see that. And so I think, in the time period, like when I was in grad school, I had my head down so much in my books that it occurred to me, that, like, let me focus on me. And if I can focus on, because, people will talk about marriage being 50-50, and it's not 50-50. It's 100-100. Like, divorce is 50-50. You split things up. or
Right.
people will say my better half. And like, I cringe when people say that, because we should all come into a marriage whole. Like, we're not coming in as two halves. And so I think the biggest thing is to focus on ourselves, because when we love ourselves, that emanates, that like shines on the outside. So
Yeah.
that would be the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is don't give up hope, and be open to realizing that it can happen in the most unexpected ways at the most unexpected times. I like, as women, we try to control things a lot. And so we like have this timetable we want to orchestrate. And I used to be that girl. Like, I want X by this date. I want
Right.
X by this age. And I think when we do that, we put, I am totally a Christian. And I think that when we do that, we put God in a box. And so we create this timeline sometimes that's unrealistic. And a lot of that is cultural and social pressure as well, right? Like,
Right.
the world saying you need to get married by X time. So if you want to have children, you can do it by X time. Like, there are all these things that the world is saying. But the biggest thing I would say is just to love yourself and to be open. Like,
Yeah.
that you meet people in the most unexpected ways. Like, one of my college roommates met her husband in a grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, you just, like, look, it just happens sometimes in the most unexpected ways.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people. I think this is like my 44th or 45th episode. And so I've interviewed a lot of people that are in relationships, and just hearing the different ways and the different places where people meet. It's like, it can happen at any time, at any place, really. I wanted to talk to tie in a little bit of what you do, which is very exciting to me because I love
Yeah.
fashion. Um,
Yeah.
and so I want to hear about, first of all, there's a picture on your
Mm-hmm.
Instagram page where I don't know if it was a photo shoot and your husband is like tying your shoes.
Oh,
That,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that is the picture that I saw. And I was like, I want to ask her if she can be a
yeah.
guest on my show. But to talk about like I know you're a professor, and then
Yep.
you do many other things, and then tying in the fashion and how your husband is very supportive. So I wanted to
Oh,
kind of talk
yeah.
about that and see, how do you guys support each other, I guess, in the things that you love and you.
Dude, that's a fantastic question. So actually, I started my blog because of my husband. It was my husband and my old stylist at J. Crew. She used to be the manager of the J. Crew in Lexington. And both of them were like, all of the names of the products. Like, you should really just start a blog. Like, you should engage people. And I was like, I don't know. Nobody's really going to pay attention. And they just kept at it. And so finally I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to start the blog. And so it was my husband who gave the initial push. And like, anything I say I want to do, he's like, all right, how do we get there? Like, how do
Oh,
we get to the finish line? And it's reciprocal. It's the same way. Like, if he says he wants to do something, I'm like, how do we get there? Like, how do we get to the finish line? I mean, at the end of the day, I think that is ultimately the key,
yeah.
is being a team and figuring out, like, this isn't about me, it's about us. And even if, I'm sure there are things like, if I want to go see a Broadway musical or play or something, that Toby would be like, Rynetta, really? But he would do it just because I think, there's this really great book that talks about like the things that you can do, like tons of great books. But one of them, shucks, I think the name is Love Busters. Don't quote me on that. Love Busters talks about how like you deplete love banks, but like the 5 love languages and books like that talk
Right.
about like the importance of recreational companionship
Yeah.
and doing things together to build, intimacy. And so even if it's something that might not necessarily excite you, like I love sports, but I don't love horse racing, and Toby loves horse racing. So I make it a point to, or like I love basketball and football. I don't love baseball, but I make it a point, I know that he does, to interact on that level, and so I think that's the key, is just, and so he encouraged me to start the blog. And I have a really mild muscle weakening disease. And so sometimes like at photo shoots, I might need a little extra help, like buckling my shoes or buttoning stuff up, like if we're moving at a fast pace, like when I'm doing things at a slower pace, I can, and I'm taking my time, I'm fine. but most often my shoots are an hour and I'm trying to fit in as much as I can. And
Right.
so he comes with me and helps me change clothes. And so that photo, it's so interesting. My photographer, she's my sweet friend. She captured that candid moment of him just like kneeling in his work clothes because he will meet me after work for
Yeah.
us to shoot, and buckling the shoes. And that's just the kind of guy. I mean, he has a heart of gold. Like going through TSA in the airport, he's down on his knees unbuckling my shoes, and people are like, do you have another one of him? Like he's just a really, really
Yeah.
compassionate, generous, kind guy. And and I never have to ask. It's just like, all right, or he'll say to me, do you need help? But I never have to ask. That's just who he is.
Yeah. So I don't want to glaze over what you just said. You
Yeah.
said you have
Myasthenia gravis, and it just means muscle weakness. Two fancy words for meaning muscle weakness, but it's medicine treated. So gratefully, I have an IV infusion every 3 weeks, and I take meds. So gratefully it's managed. And actually, I cannot complain. I live a very, very full life. There are some people, when you tell them that, like when I say I have myasthenia, they kind of look like doctors, because there's some people who are wheelchair bound. Like, I am really, really grateful. So, and I was obviously upfront with Toby about this from the very beginning. And he was like, I mean, I love you. This is is what we do. We help each other. And he is, I mean, he's just an amazing, amazing husband.
Yeah, I have to say that photo, I was just like, when I looked at that, I was like, like you said, other people say, where are men like him? I thought to myself, I want to interview her and I want to hear her love story, but also, does he have friends? Where can I find a guy like that? Like, that's so awesome, Yeah, I appreciate you being honest, even sharing about your, the muscle
Oh yeah.
problem that you have. So thank you about that. Yeah. So, and then, so the blog, he supports you, you guys pretty much running together, or is it just is it your thing?
So I would say that I decide what I'm going to post. I decide what outfits I'm going to shoot, but he's always readily available to help me, think through content, travel places, that kind of thing. And with the rebrand, he was 100% like my sounding board. Like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
How do I do that? He's an IT guy, so he has a unique perspective in that way. So I do maybe the day-to-day operations, but he is the back end of, babe, how should I do this? How should I present that? Do you think this idea will work? What do you think about this angle? From an outsider's perspective, would this intrigue you? Those kinds of things. He helps tremendously.
That's awesome. So I know you said you wanted to put your name in your rebranding, but why that the way that you put it?
The really Rynetta. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because so for me, really means authentic, right? Like authenticity. And authenticity is so important to me. And so I wanted people to really see Rynetta,
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to post this, I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight or tomorrow. Last week, Toby and I were texting back and forth, and I'm like, I have a lot of quirks and idiosyncrasies, so I know that this is the man that God had for me. So I'd asked him, he was picking me up from the airport on Monday when I came back, for that one day before we hopped on another plane. And I asked him to get me a salad, and I'm really particular. So I'm like, okay, I want this particular salad. Can you get the croutons separated? Can you get the dressing separated? And so he just sends back this text that says, really, Rynetta? And that's the typical in our, I'm really weird. So for example, when I travel, I'm really careful about the clothes I pack. I will only do a carry-on. I don't want to check my luggage, because my luggage was lost for a day once. And since then I'm like, oh my gosh, they could lose it permanently. And that skirt I have that's sold out, that kind of stuff. So Toby's response is always, really, Rynetta? And so that is another reason why I use that name is because, and sometimes I'll say to myself, those crazy things you do, and you're like, really, did I just do that? So yeah, I wanted to unveil every facet of who I am.
Right. That's so awesome. Because, when I saw the when you posted that you were changing. So you start to wonder, like, I was like, why did she choose that name? You know, maybe was it taken? What, you know? So I'm so glad to hear you describe, you know, your reasons to why you landed on that, which is beautiful. I love it because it's got different meanings.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think it's because we're multifaceted individuals. And that's another reason why I wanted to change is that, you know, like I said in the blog post, I was walking through the mall one day and somebody said to me, "You're the J. Crew girl." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I love the brand, right? But I'm also so much more." And
Right.
so that stuck with me for some reason. When I got to the car, I was like, wow, I hope people see me as more, you know?
Right. Right. And I loved how you described it. You know, that you are that, yes, and also you are a dedicated wife. I think you said.
Right. Yep.
You're a professor. So what are you a professor of?
I teach English, 19th century African American literature.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a series of questions that I just wanted to go over with
Yeah.
you. So first of all, what does a date night look like for you and your husband when you go in terms of what you wear?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So it depends on where we're going.
Okay.
And because I'm, like I said, I'm weird. And so I always worry. I'm like, I don't want to spill anything on my clothes. So it depends on where we're going. But our date nights, I like to say we have date nights daily because we don't have kids. And that was a conscious decision for us
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, neither one of us wanted children. And so that I think in part because we really wanted to just focus on each other and we're just not like parent material at all. And so like we do things daily to try to make sure that we're keeping connected, that we're staying connected and that we're constantly communicating. But like a traditional date night for us might be like a dinner out at a really special, you know, restaurant. And that might look like wearing a nice flowy dress and Toby might put on a shirt and a tie or a shirt and khakis or something like that. But then we also do like just really fun stuff. Like there's some days that we'll just get up on a Saturday and say, you know what, let's go to Cincinnati or let's go to Nashville, you know, like let's take a road trip and let's just kind of like wander the city and see what we can, you know, see what we can see. And
Yeah.
let's just kind of eat our way through the city, you know.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
you know, it just kind of depends. We're not really big movie watchers. But for us, like a fun date night might be like just getting on the road or, you know, and visiting a different city or going to try new restaurants. That's one of our like big things is
Yeah.
trying new restaurants in the city and, or just kind of like walking around an outside mall, you know, and talking and enjoying the weather, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And I have to say that I love how you just mix prints and
Oh, thank you.
colors. And I want to invite people to check out your blog for sure and see how you dress. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah. So what's your favorite color? Speaking of, I see a lot of prints and stuff, but what's your favorite color?
So I'd have to say my favorite color is pink. I'm an AKA and I really love pink and green together.
Uh
But
huh.
I'd have to say that like if I had to choose one color, it would be like pink, multiple variations, blush pink, bold. You know, I just love pink.
And what's your favorite food?
My favorite food is shrimp. I could eat shrimp 7 days a week.
In what form? Just
I mean, in pasta, I could do shrimp cocktail, fried shrimp, like any way you dice it. I just love shrimp.
nice.
So I'm grateful I don't have a shellfish allergy.
Right. What would you say are three most influential people to you?
Oh yeah. Okay. So the top two, my mom and dad, who sadly are both deceased, but just the way that they poured into us, like they were so
Mm.
intentional about loving us and about letting us know, like not only hearing that they loved us, but consistently showing that they loved us. And my parents were divorced, but in some ways you would have never known it. They operated as a team so
Mm-hmm.
much that that was just amazing. So I would have to say that the two of them. And then thirdly, I honestly, this is going to sound corny, but I'd have to say it's Toby. Like just the way that he walks through the world, his work ethic
Mm-hmm.
and the way he interacts with other people. Like I always hope I can aspire to be half the person that he is, just like his ability the way that he does things. Like his work ethic is just off the charts.
Yeah.
And that is so incredible to me.
Oh, that's awesome. And so if you could step into my shoes and, what would you say, or what would be the question that you wish I would have asked you?
That's good. That's good. Maybe, we did sort of talk about this, but I would say maybe the one thing would be the key to a happy marriage. And I'm not sure that there's like one answer to that, right? Like, I think there are multiple perspectives. And before I like answer that, I want to back up and say that one of my like closest friends, sister friends, has written this really great book. Her name is Shonda Brown White. And the book is titled Don't Be a Wife to a Boyfriend. And I think that is like, I think that's a key to when we talk about like dating, making sure that like, if you're not married, not doing the things that a married woman would do, right? Like in order to stay in a relationship, or giving so much of yourself, right? But I would just say that I think about like the key to maintaining a healthy marriage and relationship. And sadly, I think in our society, for example, when you talk about like marriage ministry in churches, people automatically think, oh, if I go to a marriage ministry event, there's the stigma that something's wrong with your marriage. Well, there will be something wrong if you don't do preventative.
You don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't do preventative maintenance, like we get our oil changed in our cars. We put gas in it because it requires fuel. But then we'll let our marriages die. And that like is just like profound to me. Like it baffles the mind that people are so willing to take care of material things, but not the emotional things. And so I would just say that like for anybody, interested in or looking to get married, making sure that you focus on the self, but that you also focus on the ways that you're going to make sure that your marriage thrives.
Right.
That the wedding day is one day and the wedding is over quickly, but like, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? Like a lot of people want this picture perfect wedding, but then there's no emphasis on like, how you really going to live with this person?
Right.
Like how are you going to, can you deal with it? In our household, everything is like inverted. So Toby's clean and organized. We're both Virgos, but he says that like somehow I'm at the way end of the spectrum. And, I'm the one who has shoes all over the place and that kind of stuff. Like, how are you going to deal with those things that could become, if you don't handle them, they can become triggers that end up in something explosive. So just making sure that you prepare yourself for the marriage and not just for that one day.
Right. That wedding. And then after that, it's like, now what?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I appreciate you saying that. So how do you guys keep yours? How do you keep the fire burning?
One is what you mentioned earlier. We have date nights that we just do not compromise, right? Like this is our time together. And if something else is going on outside, then, we're like, sorry, we're committed. That's just absolutely non-negotiable, because that's our time to connect and to like tune out the rest of the world and to focus on the two of us. We're really active in our marriage ministry at church. And so we have a small group, a married couple small group, because the other way that you thrive is surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I tell my students all the time, it's not just that birds of a feather flock together, it's that they reach the same destination. So the goal is to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are equally committed to their marriages and who can be accountability partners. We have accountability partners that we've given permission to get in our business. And likewise, they've given us permission to get in their business, which means that you got to find people you trust, with whom you can just be completely authentic and transparent and know that your business won't be, in the streets. And the other thing we do is we finish a study, a marriage study or a Bible study, and we pick another one up. So, we work our way through like the 5 love languages, love busters, also the art of marriage, like from one thing to the next, just making sure that like we're constantly refueling, because, it's like continuing education. Right. We don't stop studying on our jobs, right? We're going to professional development. We're doing that kind of thing. And not that marriage is a job, but I think it's analogous in the way that we need to keep working to make sure that our marriages thrive.
This is so awesome. Where can our listeners connect with you?
Sure. This time, so my newly rebranded blog is Really Rynetta. It's spelled Rynetta, thanks to my amazing parents, but it's Really Rynetta, RYNETTA.com. And I'm on Instagram as reallyRynetta.com as well. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you asking me to do this, and I genuinely appreciate the support.
Thank you so much for listening, and all the way to the end. I am genuinely so grateful. So now you can continue to show your support in a few different ways. The first one is, if you can think of someone who might benefit from this episode, please send it to them. And the second thing is, we all are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and the like. So please share this episode. And I love it when people tag me to their post. And 3, head over to iTunes. You can leave a review and you can rate this episode. All your feedback is very helpful, and it helps this podcast get visible so others can listen to all these great stories. Thank you so much. Till next time.